So it's a nice blustery day out here in Holliston. We've got one more round of pickles to make. But I thought I'd intro with just a look at how the day is going. And so I'll let this play until it switches to the next clip. It's quite nice. We got a bit of a wind going, and so we're seeing a lot of the birch leaves come down, or beech leaves come down, some of the maples. Right in the back there, that big red tree, you can see off to the left, that I believe is the tupelo, right behind the inkberry. That's quite a nice plant. Puts on a real good show at this time of year. And so here's the dog. No longer interested in all this pickling, very much. But this is a recipe I really like. Found it in online at Creative Canning, which is a good site. Also, this is a really good beer from Notch. Actually, it's an ale called a Kolsch, originated from Cologne, Germany. This one's a golden Kolsch. It's really excellent. Notch is a great brewer, so I highly recommend that beer. What we're going to do here is pretty simple. We bring our ingredients, so some vinegar and some spices, to a boil. This is the other vinegar I was talking about the other day. This is Bragg. It's widely available. It's not as rich as the one that I used on the last video, but it is nice because it's available. And we're going to take, I think it's 3.5 cups of this, and get it to a boil. Put in a fair amount of spices, and you can see here, right? So we've got bay leaf, we've got a bunch of the seeds. There's some different spices in here. So there's red pepper flakes, then there's turmeric, and a bit of clove. And we just boil this up. And honestly, what I like about this recipe is that once you've done this part, all you really have to do is pack the hot jars that you've made. So you boil your jars and set them aside and fill them with your produce, which is going to be these late season green tomatoes. The key here is to pack them pretty tight and then leave a little bit of room at the top. I'm going to try to get a bay leaf into each jar, just because it adds tannins and that can help keep things crisp. But the key here is that once we get these jars boiled up and get them filled up, that there's no cooking of the product until you do the boil. There's no salting of the product, so we're not letting this sit in salt for an hour or overnight, as some of these recipes will have you do. So it is about as simple as it gets. So here are the tomatoes. I got to prep all these up and get them in the jars, and then we'll do the final fill. These again are a mixture of late season green tomatoes. There's some beefsteak in here, some German pinks, and a bunch of plum tomatoes, probably some cherry tomatoes as well, because they were showing pretty green the other day. So we'll do that, and we'll assemble it all. And once that's done, here's another spice that goes in that's a little bit unique to this pickle. It's smoked paprika, from Portugal or from Spain. Once you set it all up and cap it, you give it a 15-minute hot bath boil, and that's really it. So this isn't a big hands-on journey here. This is a pretty straightforward recipe, and I think it's got the right mixture to come out okay. I just want to note here, if you do cut a late season tomato and it looks like this is a plum tomato, go ahead and salt it and eat it. They're delicious. They're tangy and firm, but you do get a nice tomato flavor as well. So here are the packed jars. So those jars have been boiled, the lids have been boiled, the utensils have been boiled, and the jars have been packed with these quarters or halves of tomatoes. It looks like I've got 6 or 7 jars ready to go. And my spice mix, my vinegar mix, is certainly out of boil, so we're ready to go. This is this is referred to as a vinegar pickle because it's not requiring that you salt the pickle before you process it. So this is just the action of the acid in the vinegar, the salt in the mix. There is some salt in there, and the fact that we're going to vacuum seal it by doing the 15-minute boil. So I'm just pouring off here. I'm going to try to distribute this evenly. I definitely have more brine or vinegar than I need, which is good because I'll throw the rest in the fridge, for the next project. Um, and again, we just kind of want to make sure there's no air bubbles. We want to leave a half an inch at the top of each can so that there's just enough room for you to set a sterile seal between the lid and the produce underneath. The vinegar is so hot that it's fogging the lens here, but I think you can sort of see what's going on. It's a pretty simple technique. Just rest assured that before I started using the measuring cup, that I dunked it in the boiling water for a couple of minutes, and then pulled it out and let it cool so that I could handle it. So it's sterile. The jars are sterile. The utensils are sterile. It's probably overkill because this is all vinegar, so it's 5% vinegar, and once it's sealed, it's going to be hard for anything to contaminate that. But nonetheless, you want to make sure that you're not introducing anything that you don't want in to contaminate your product. So here I've put a bay leaf at the top of each one. I used to use oak leaves a lot. Green oak leaves that are still green are very, very tannic and can impart a lot of crispness to a pickle. One of the reasons pickles are crisp is the effect of tannins on holding that cellular integrity of the inside the fruit. So this looks like it's almost ready to go. We'll cap them. We'll load them. We'll boil them for 15 minutes, and we'll see what happens in a couple days when we do a taste test. In the meantime, I'm going to make a tomatillo salsa, and we're probably going to taste that as well. So all that'll happen in a couple days. I'm going to shut the audio off and just watch this finish up. There's nothing magic here. It's just a little bit of extra care at the end. Make sure there are no air bubbles. Make sure everything's below that roughly half-inch mark. And then we're ready to cap, seal, and boil.